Right, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Day 4, Eurobike. I'm in the press centre. As you can see, it's an absolute hive of activity. Right, so it's a kind of public day today. So the B2B side of the show's finished. Yeah, members of the public can come in, and as far as I'm aware, you can actually, go up to booths and kind of buy stuff from the vendors. It should be interesting. Yeah, stick with me. And let's go. So I was passing by this little booth. These guys do bike building courses, and this bike caught my eye. I mean, I built up a steel bike recently, right? And I feel like I've got a newfound kind of love for these older school bikes. So this guy's got it really tricked out, old school Campagnolo here. Yeah, lovely thing. This is his brand, Corleone. And I noticed these bars. So these are, 3T carbon bars, and ones like this are all over AliExpress. I'm very familiar with this shape. I have one from a brand called Toseek. I think I paid something like 25 quid back in the day for them. When he kind of built up this bike, they cost him about 200 euros, something like that. But yeah, what a beautiful machine, and just interesting to see the actual OG handlebars when all I deal in is the kind of cheap knockoffs, right? So yeah, they do a frame building class if you want to build yourself a nice custom steel road bike. But yeah, he was just a lovely bloke. We sat there for about 25 minutes chatting about his bike, and he gave me an espresso. So yeah, got to give him props, and yeah, cool guy. So just passing by this booth, they've got this demonstration. I think it's to show how good the chain retention is on like gravel. Maybe they've got like some new narrow eye technology or something. It's going absolutely bonkers in there. Yeah, there's just something quite funny about it. So it looks like they just do chain rings and cranks. Couldn't find any cassettes on here, but yeah, they do have quite an interesting profile on the teeth. So yeah, it must be kind of about, the chain retention on the teeth, I suppose. But yeah, either way, this little demo is very, very amusing. So you can change gear as well. That is really, really impressive. So I tried to catch that machine out, couldn't do it. I was trying to like double shift and I don't know, catch out somehow, but yeah. I mean, maybe they put a stronger return spring in the derailleur and the chain tension is massive, but either way, yeah, pretty impressive stuff. It's an auto hub lacing machine. That's pretty cool. Does both sides of the hub. Look at that. What was that, like 35 seconds? Here's the magazine for the spokes. It's like a Gatling gun, like feeding them in. Spotted this wooden frame here, and the rear triangle is made out of plywood, which is really interesting. So chatting to the guy here, it is bamboo, but they've apparently got an aluminium frame inside for strength. Looks nice, I guess, but I wonder how long it would last if you like left it out in the rain. Would the kind of wood warp and deform? I don't know. Still, it looks cool though. This thing is crazy. Never seen anything like it. So it's a pedal-assisted vehicle, a kind of single-seater, and I'll show you the inside in a second. Presumably it's electric, and you can get up to 120 kilometers an hour in this thing. So it's kind of certified for highway use. So yeah, single seat in there, and maybe I can show you. Yeah, you've got pedals up the front there. So you're in like a kind of recumbent position as you're pedaling along at 120 kilometers an hour on the motorway. That thing's wicked. I can see myself delivering pizzas in that thing in a dystopian cyberpunk cityscape. Yeah, like something out of Blade Runner or something. Really, really wicked. Right, it's the Magene booth. I meant to come and see these guys in the last 3 days, but they've been kind of hidden away in Hall 8. Yeah, let's go and have a look at this group set. I saw it at Shanghai, but I kind of want to see it again. It's the QED, which is the kind of higher end, Ultegra-esque version of their electronic group sets. And to me, it seems like one of the most squared away out of a Chinese manufacturer. I mean, I'm obviously going to need to test it. So desperate to get my hands on it. Hopefully I can get one soon. All right, they've given me a chance to ride it here on the shop floor. Does feel a bit weird to be running around the shop floor on a bike. Shifting is nice, braking's good. Watch out for members of the public. All right, I'm gonna give it the beans, hang on. Big ring, sprint finish. Nice, braking's good, shifting's nice. I think I've got this lady following me around. I feel a bit bad, she's had to run after me. Right, cool. I think that'll do. That was very funny. I kind of expected that lady, her name is Cara, and Cara, thank you for following me around. I didn't expect you to kind of follow me out on the bike, but she kind of ran around the shop floor. Oh dear, I feel bad. But yeah, that was good. Group set worked well, ergonomics were lovely, and I locked up the rear wheel as well, coming to a stop. So brakes are good, left a big skid mark on the carpet. Anyway, yeah, that was the B2B booth. Yeah, not geared up for the likes of me really, but still, thank you to Cara, and yeah, let's crack on. Right, so I made it over to the kind of bigger machine booth, and yeah, getting a chance to kind of really take a good look at these shifters. They're very squared away, and I also love the fact they've got the auxiliary buttons here on the kind of inside of the shifter. It feels very natural. You don't really have to move your hand position. Whereas on Shimano, they tend to be on the top of the hoods here. And you've got both auxiliary buttons on the lower tier PES and also on the kind of higher tier QED. So this is a lot lighter. You can really feel it in hand. Nice carbon brake lever there. Yeah, just a lovely bit of kit. Really, really excited to try this out. So for the sake of clarity, with Magene stuff, you've got PES, QED, and then TEO. So it's the basic equivalent of Shimano 105, Ultegra, and Dura Ace, to put it in very simple terms. So under PES currently, you've got a power meter and a group set. On QED, you've only got the group set. They did have a QED power meter, but that was discontinued. And under TEO, they've just got the power meter currently. So pretty much instantly, I was like, is there gonna be a TEO, like a kind of Dura Ace equivalent group set? And then they were a little cagey. They said they're working on something, nothing confirmed. But yeah, I guess watch this space. Potentially a kind of TEO, ultra high level group set coming from Magene. Okay, I'm gonna give it a go on this yeah, smart trainer. Now I can't use the front derailleur, but I can shift under power at the back. It's smooth. Yeah, not really letting off. A tiny bit of crunch, but nothing crazy. Ooh, I need to get one of these group sets. Right, I've just shot over to Magicshine. I have a lot of time for these guys. They do some absolutely amazing bike glides. I've tried a couple. The build quality is absolutely nuts. So I think it was last year I checked out this. It was the Evo 1700 bike glide. Cool thing about this, you've got the remote here. It does a high and low beam. So I've got a video out on this if you want to check it out. One of the criticisms that was levied at this series though was on the early models, this button is a detent and you slide that out like so. The trouble is there was a little bit of an issue with it. So you'd press the detent and then it would be really tough to slide it out. So they've updated the plastic, updated the injection molding. So yeah, it's a piece of cake. I think a lot of people ended up kind of wrestling with it, and then they'd snap this little kind of retention clip here, but that's been updated. They've got the 1700 SD, which is, yeah, it's got Shimano Di2 integration. So basically, rather than the remote here, you can control the light with buttons on the top of the shifters. So yeah, they also do, well, they've got a range of really decent glasses, actually, cycle glasses. I've got a couple of pairs. They're really good for the price. Their tagline, I always thought, was genius. See more, do better. But yeah, a lot of time for, yeah, Magicshine. It's such a good company, and yeah, check them out. Right, so I've just popped into Winspace. They have some absolutely gorgeous looking frames. I love this paint job here, but this one is nuts. I got a bit of the lowdown. So this is the wrong kind of badge. It says the SLC3. This is the SLC3 Extreme Edition, and the weight on this thing is nuts. So in a medium, unpainted, bear in mind, but 600 grams for the frame. That's crazy. And considering the tire clearance on this is 700 by 32C, it's designed to handle a little bit rougher stuff. 600 grams for a medium is, yeah, that's bonkers. One aspect of this as well that I was kind of a little bit unsure of, you can see here, yeah, the Toray. So Toray T1100, fine. Toray T1000, I'm kind of familiar with these two, but this M certification for carbon fiber, I asked what that was about. So allegedly it's the carbon grade that sits above Toray. So it stands for kind of military, is what I've been told. So it comes from the same company, but it's their like uber high grade carbon. So yeah, these guys are stuffing it inside the SLC3. Okay, so I'm just editing this episode together right now, and I wasn't kind of 100% sold on that actually. So I've just looked it up, and I think maybe something got lost in translation on the booth. But from my understanding, the T designation for carbon fiber generally stands for tensile strength, whereas the M stands for modulus or stiffness. So for example, from my understanding, for a given weight, T1000 has a higher tensile strength than T700 carbon fiber. So I believe to create a frame of the same strength, you need less T1000 than if you were using T700. You can get away with fewer kind of layers, therefore it's a little bit, well, it can make a lighter frame. But I believe, confusingly, in common parlance, if a frame is made of T1000, it's generally considered to be stiffer than a T700 frame, but the M designation specifically is a high modulus, so it's designed to add pinpoint stiffness to certain areas of the frame. So M series carbon fiber, technically a lower tensile strength, but a higher modulus, so a high kind of resistance to deformation, perfect for adding stiffness in certain areas. But yeah, this one here, really tasty looking thing. The SLC5, again, we're looking at tire clearance 700 by 32C. And the weight is not, well, it's not exactly a chunky boy, is it? 705 grams. BSA bottom bracket, got a lot of time for that. And yeah, this has just been released, and the cost on this, it's not cheap. Sorry, was it $2,800? $2,800 for this beast. So checking out this pretty tasty new handlebar they just released, the Hyper integrated bar. Apparently it's got carbon and Kevlar fibers in there to kind of help with vibration dampening. So we're seeing this trend a lot more. Proprietary computer mount, which honestly, I'm not a massive fan of. I prefer it with the standard 2 bolts, but it is what it is. Really interesting paint finish on there. And yeah, but this thing isn't cheap. We're looking at 500 bucks for this. But yeah, if you want the best, Winspace have got you covered. Yeah, Winspace, interesting. I mean, great kit, but they are really pushing for that premium segment. I mean, lovely frame. $2,800 is steep, but I mean, it's really light, looks like a lovely bit of kit. But yeah, the Winspace of 5 years ago, when you could get a frame for $1,500, it's a different company now, really pushing for that premium market, but the stuff looks great. What can I say? Right, so I'm just fact checking myself actually on the Winspace website. There are still a number of frames here that you can get from these guys for under $1,500. It's just that, you know, at a bike show, they're going to put forward their most premium Halo products, as it were, to show what the company is capable of with the kind of newest tech and innovations, and those just happen to be quite premium. But yeah, you can certainly get some nice looking frames for under 1,500 bucks. So I found this booth behind me. They do carbon ceramic disc brakes for road bike, and they got a demo they're setting up, so they're putting it against a standard steel rotor. And they're just resetting it at the minute, so I'm desperate to see what this looks like under load. So they just told me all of these standard Shimano steel rotors have all been really burnt out. I mean, they might be salvageable. You can see they're blued because they've got so hot. All of these been kind of burnt out, as it were, and it's the same carbon ceramic disc. So yeah, the durability seems to be pretty nuts. Now, they use proprietary brake pads, because that was my first question, right? Yeah, you can't use standard resin, metallic pads in these, but yeah, you do need proprietary pads on these discs. So the test, they could only run one side at a time actually, because running both kept tripping the fuses on the booth. So yeah, 2 minutes on the standard steel rotor, it got really toasty. I saw it top out at 420C on the thermal camera, but I think it was way hotter than that, to be honest. Either way, it got cooked. And yeah, here are the brake pads after the run. So these are all the brake pads here that they've burnt through. Sintered metal, and you can see they're absolutely charred to pieces. This one's falling apart here. So yeah, they've really put these pads and rotors through the ringer with this machine. Now, the carbon ceramic rotor, honestly, not much to see, to be honest. Again, a 2-minute test, and again, the temp on the thermal camera topped out at 420. I was impressed, but yeah, who knows what the actual braking would be like and how the coefficient of friction on these rotors actually compares to steel. So having a quick look at the setup as well, it's all relatively well controlled, so exactly the same brake calipers, same brake lines, and they've got a kind of a weight system on the brake lever here. It's not like someone's loosely holding on to the carbon ceramic one and then really grabbing the regular disc rotor. Yeah, exactly the same weight for both. Now, I asked about cost for a single unit with pads, about $200, but they said they're kind of targeting 2 sets of rotors, so 2 160 rotors, 4 sets of pads, targeting under 400 bucks. So it's not cheap, but you know, this is kind of super cutting edge. I mean, carbon ceramic brakes on a road bike, bonkers. All right, let's do a quick weigh-in. So if I bang this disc rotor on, very standard Shimano disc rotor, quite a chunky one, admittedly, but what are we looking at for that? 177 grams for this thing. This one is 75.3 grams for a 160 millimeter rotor with quite a chunky aluminium spider. That is not bad at all. That's in line with some really lightweight steel rotors. Yeah, 75.3 grams for that. So yeah, in terms of the kind of application for those brakes, really extreme scenarios, presumably, because carbon ceramic deals with high heat incredibly well. It's used in motorsport. And yeah, if you want to like really stamp on the brakes and you need consistent braking under high heat applications, carbon ceramic's the way to go. But on a road bike disc brake, I don't know. As far as I'm aware, carbon ceramic isn't particularly good until it gets up to temp. My understanding was that from cold, which is, you know, the majority of braking you're going to be doing, it's not fantastic. So it can be quite loud, quite squealy, and yeah, the bite isn't great and comparable to, you know, standard steel. Once they get up to temp, that's when the advantages really come in, or at least that's my understanding. That's why you see them on cars that do a lot of track days, or, you know, race machines, GT3, etc. So I don't know. I'm going to have to get hold of a set because they do look really cool. Maybe they've done some magic with the, you know, brake pad compound they've got on there. But yes, certainly interesting. Not cheap, but then they would be like supremely durable. But one of those rotors, and they chewed through like, what, 30 discs they had on the booth. So durability's up there. I don't know, braking application, I got some big questions around that. But yeah, as soon as I can get my hands on a set, I'll try. All right, so I just popped into the Nepest booth here. They do some pretty nice looking wheel sets. So one of the things I really like, they use T-shaped spokes, which I've not seen before in person. It basically means that, because these are bladed spokes, right, and you always want them nicely aligned to get those aero benefits. And by using a T-shaped spoke like this, it means it kind of locks into the hub and keeps the kind of spoke parallel, nice and consistent all around the wheel. I also like the fact the hub flanges they use are really quite robust, actually. You see a lot of companies really skimping on material around the hub flanges in order to save as much weight as possible. But yeah, with a hub flange like this, it increases stiffness. So yeah, nice chunky hubs, really kind of built for durability, I guess. It's funny, I was looking at these, I quite like a deep section wheel, so these kind of caught my eye. So these are the Nova 66, so these are 66 millimeters deep, but the UCI just passed some new ruling, which means that I think coming pretty soon, the maximum is 65. But they are really tasty, these ones. But yeah, coming soon, these won't be legal under UCI. So weight on these is, yeah, 1,400 grams, which considering it's a, you know, 66 mil deep wheel, not too shabby, to be honest with you. Now, cost-wise, $1,499. In terms of the packaging, looks really nice. You get a really decent wheel bag by the looks of it. Decent heavy-duty cardboard box, which is good. And in accessories, you get a couple of spare spokes in here, rim tape, which is a really nice addition, actually, and you get some tubeless valves there too. Right, the Nepest wheels. I wasn't confident I was going to cover them, actually, because a lot of people in my space have already sort of, yeah, shown the wheels off. But I'm glad I popped in. The price isn't nuts for what seems to be a really well-constructed wheel. So yeah, I'm still not sure I'll get a pair, but still, definitely worth a look. I can see why Hambini likes them. So I popped into this booth, Rolf Prima. I've got to say, it's a brand that I'm not familiar with, but it's an American brand, and apparently it's got quite a bit of heritage from what the guy was saying. The thing I found quite striking though was this wheel set here, just the number of spokes. Essentially, there aren't many there. So just 16 spokes, front and rear. So exactly the same on drive side and non-drive side as well. The spoke technology is not proprietary. These are just Sapim CX-ray spokes, so pretty standard steel spokes in here. Apparently, the special sauce with this wheel set is the fact that you have these, well, the spokes entering the rim in such a close proximity together. Allegedly, the founder of the company, Rolf Prima, so it came from when he was doing a world record attempt on a bike. Apparently he kept facing speed wobble on the bike, and that was only mitigated when he started using wheels with this particular design. So essentially having the spokes entering the rim at such a close proximity, allegedly that mitigated the speed wobble, and that's when this particular design was born. So price, right? So what we're looking at, $3,000 for a wheel set, and the weight isn't crazy lightweight. I mean, it's not exactly heavy, but you can certainly get lighter wheels for cheaper. But allegedly they're not concerned with creating the lightest wheel set in the world, right? What they kind of pitched it to me as, it's meant to be a super durable set of wheels. So the bearings they've slapped in here are these Enduro XD15 bearings. They are incredibly expensive. I think each bearing is like 100 quid, but you get a lifetime warranty with those particular bearings. They're also choosing to run J-bend spokes, which I found a little, I don't know, perplexing. I always assume J-bend spokes are on slightly lower tier wheels, but here, these certainly premium wheels, and they're running J-bend. I would have thought straight pull would have been the ones to go for, but I think it's, well, they were telling me, because in the States, there's not many wheel sets that run straight pull. So in terms of like servicing and getting, I don't know, getting replacements in terms of wheel building in general, they're sticking with J-bend. So yeah, really interesting wheel set though. Such a low spoke count. Pretty cool.
Right, so this last booth was pretty interesting. A company called Fasten. They're an Italian startup working on this quick release disc wheel setup called the SWS, or switch wheel system. So instead of removing the whole wheel with the cassette and rotor attached, those stay fixed onto the bike, mounted directly to the frame, and you just swap out the wheel itself. When the guy demoed it here, you could see this kind of dovetail style interface that lines everything up, slide in the axle, yeah, job done. But there are a few caveats, right? So while you can use standard cassettes, rotors, and other drivetrain components, the frame is proprietary with bearings built into the fork and rear dropout. And the wheels themselves, they're also non-standard, right? So look at the hubs, they're so much narrower than on a regular wheel set. When you're designing for stiffness, you want those spoke flanges as far apart as possible on the hub to get that strong truss structure. With these narrow hubs, that truss effect is going to be reduced, and you're going to be compromising on lateral stiffness. But I actually gave it a bit of a test. The wheels use 24 spokes, which definitely helps, and they didn't feel too bad, but yeah, I could still flex them pretty easily. Definitely not as stiff as a traditional wheel. That said, I do get the vision. The narrow hub is a deliberate trade-off. The front and rear wheels, they're identical, so you can slot them in either way round, or front and rear. So during a wheel change, there's no faffing. Just grab any wheel, slap it in, yeah, good to go. Now, I spoke to the guys on the booth. They're aiming this broadly at kind of two groups. Riders who aren't super confident with bike maintenance, yeah, totally get that, and pro teams looking to speed up wheel swaps during races. But, and I might be wrong here, in a world where frames and wheel sets are constantly chasing stiffer and more responsive designs, a team going all in on a proprietary system with noticeably compromised lateral stiffness does feel like a big ask. It seems like they could reduce this distance, increase the width of the hub, and therefore the wheel stiffness as a whole. It's just the wheels would no longer be omnidirectional. But yeah, look, I'm sure it's not that simple. I'm not a kind of bike engineer, and I'm sure there are other considerations. Ultimately, this is just a startup. They're still developing. It's a really slick design, and yeah, you gotta love this type of innovation. I'm sure having a booth at Eurobike was really exciting for these folks, so yeah, wish them all the best. But yeah, definitely let me know what you think about this design.
Right then, that about wraps things up here at Eurobike. Yeah, what a wicked little trip. Saw some awesome stuff. I just want to take a second actually to say thank you to everyone that came up to me during the show. Yeah, I really do love meeting you all out in the wild. So it's long days here. I do love it, but you do get a bit kind of worn down, and just bumping into you and having a chat always perks me right back up, gives me a lot of energy. So yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone. It was wicked meeting you all. And yeah, that about does it. So thanks for watching. And I'll see you back in the UK. Right, see you later. Ciao. Just found the lightest carbon wheel at the entire show. Bosh. Look at that. So yeah, the weight is, well, claimed weight 248 grams for one. Yeah, pretty cool. Look at that. Tiny little thing. Carbon rim though. Pretty sick. If you had a kid's bike with this, you'd be ripping.